we're going to be talking about scoring now, and when I teach this game, I changed my method. Instead of just going through the rules normally, I start with the scoring, because I think if people understand the scoring of this game, everything falls into place. Why don't you take us through the starting steps of that?
Scoring in this game is very, very tricky, because essentially you are scoring in 4 different dimensions which are in the game. That is religion, that is the people and the king, and then you have the farming and the trading as well. And of course, the scoring will come out of your weakest area, and of course that makes it very tricky, because you can't just try to concentrate on your successes. You always have to concentrate on your weaknesses and try to bring them up as possible. I personally think that a scoring mechanism is actually the heart of the game, because when you play a game, you want to win the game. It's not important that you win the game, because I think a good game also provides a lot of fun and enjoyment for the loser. That's actually one of my definitions of a good game. In a good game, the losers also win, in inverted commas, because they have a lot of fun. But the objective still is you want to win. You want to have an objective in the game. And the objective is really driven by the score. Because in whatever way you make points and you will be the winner, that is what guides you through the game. And I give you an example of a game everybody knows, that is chess. We know that in chess, the objective is to checkmate the king, to beat the king. Now, you could also define that you say you need to capture all the opponent's pieces. Or you could say you need to bring one of your pawns through to the baseline of the other player. This would make, and keep all the other rules the same, this would make a very, very different game. And that's the same for all the games which we commercially have on the market now. If you have a very interesting scoring mechanics, then you get a very interesting and a very innovative game. What I like to do, and that's always one of my starting points, I like to think about the scoring right from the beginning and say, how can I actually manage that the players get a lot of excitement out of the scoring? And there are very, very many different ways to do it. And I think whenever I have a new way of scoring, then I have almost got a new game. And if I may, I'll give you some examples. We have recently talked in one of the episodes about Through the Desert.
Oh, I love that game.
Yeah, and Through the Desert is constructed very differently, because in Through the Desert you have many different ways to score. You score for the longest caravans, you score for certain territories you enclose, you score for linking to waterholes or to oases. So that means, again, you have a multitude of different objectives, and that essentially then creates the character of the game. There are so many things to do, and you have only got 2 things to do on each turn, and you want to do so many more, so you have a rich choice, and that's what I expect from a game. If you look at something else, for example, Samurai, which has also been published in the States, and as far as I know, you have also done an episode about this.
We're going to be doing one soon.
Okay. Then in Samurai, you have 3 dimensions where you need to be successful, but you need to be the master in one of the dimensions. That means you need to be better than everybody else in this one dimension. And once you have achieved this, then you get measured according to how well you are doing in the other 2 dimensions. Okay. And that, for example, creates a very nice dilemma, because if you don't put enough energy into mastering one of these elements, then you're not even qualifying for winning the game. However, if you put too much effort into this mastering, then you're neglecting the other 2 areas, and then you will be measured according to how much you achieved in the other areas. Then you qualify for winning, but you can't win because you're too weak in the actual score. And there are lots of ways to go into a game, and whenever you have a very new way of scoring, to guiding people, to challenge people, I think then you find something new. And that was one of the starting points of scoring mechanics in Tigris and Euphrates, to come back to our theme now. At the very beginning, at the core of the development, was this idea that you need to balance civilization, you need to find the harmony, and therefore I will actually put the players under pressure as a designer and say, whatever you do, you will always be good in some areas, and you will always have some problems in other areas, and I want you to then suffer from these problems, in inverted commas, and make sure that you get out of this problem, and that's where your challenge comes in, and that's where your success is measured from.
Well, the beauty of this game is exactly the way you just described it. And it's interesting to hear you talk about that, but it's the balance in this game. And it doesn't matter if you have 22, 30 points in one color. For instance, the church, if you've only got 5 in your worst one, you have not won the game. You have not done what's required. Remarkable scoring. And again, that's the reason I always start explaining that. Once they understand that, they know this game is a game of balance.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Let's run now to how you use leaders and maybe some other specific areas on how you exactly and precisely do score points.
Leaders are important because leaders are the core of the player's roles. They represent a dynasty, and they place the leaders on the board and therefore build the kingdoms and try to make the kingdoms prosper. If you do not have a leader on the board, you cannot score. You can only score through leaders. On your turn, you have 2 activities, and an activity is either placing a tile or placing a leader. There are some minor other alternatives, but that's the core of the game. If you place a leader, you will not be able to score through that activity. But without having a leader on the board, you cannot score. So you need to use some of your activities to bring the leaders into the game. The actual scoring is always triggered by placing a tile. And there are two very simple mechanics how you score by placing a tile. If you place a tile in a kingdom and the related king or the related leader is in that kingdom, then this leader will score 1 point. So as a specific example, if you place a green tile into any of the kingdoms and there is a green leader, this green leader will pick a victory point. It doesn't matter if that is your leader or anybody else's leader. Of course, you want to place those tiles into the kingdoms so that you get these points. Very straightforward, simply place it in there, pick up these points. This is something which happens from turn to turn. What I have built in, and which is already a little bit a higher strategy, is you can build monuments in the game. And maybe we want to show that just as a little example on the board. If you look at the board, there is in the lower left-hand corner, there is a kingdom.
Yes, we have that right on the screen there.
Which is stretched out, and it has 3 leaders in there. There is the priest, who is coming from the archer, and then there is the king, the black one. The priest is the red one. The black one comes from the potter, and that is the king. And finally, the merchant is shown in green, and the merchant, again, belongs to the archer. Now, when you look at this, there are 3 tiles, which are people tiles, the black ones, which are part of a larger square. And now if we put another tile into the remaining empty space of that 2x2 square, then we have created a structure which is strong enough to carry a monument. So if we do that, then you see this square, and when we, as the player who played the last final tile into this, when we decide we want to build a monument right away now, then we turn all 4 of these tiles over and place a monument there.